In today's video, we're looking into the heartbreaking and senseless murder of Lena Marrow, a young woman who died in a locked apartment with no signs of struggle and no sound heard by anyone. But here's the question that refuses to fade. How does someone vanish into silence without leaving a trace? Security cameras go dark for 11 minutes. Her phone disappears, and the person closest to her insists nothing happened at all. What detectives uncover next will expose a story of control disguised as love, and a truth so calculated, it leaves even seasoned investigators speechless. This isn't just a murder. It's a warning hiding in plain sight. Welcome to Unforgotten Crimes. Thanks to all my viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay tuned for daily true crime updates. Don't forget to subscribe. Rain falls in thin sheets over the apartment complex as dawn breaks, blue and red lights washing the brick in slow pulses. Patrol cars idle. An ambulance door closes without urgency. Inside Unit 3B, detectives stand still, sensing something wrong before they can name it. Lena Marrow, 24, lies where the night ended, her death quiet, contained, almost careful. There is no splintered doorframe, no overturned furniture, no frantic evidence of a fight. The air feels staged, as if violence learned how to whisper. Investigators speak in low voices about what is missing rather than what is present. Lena's phone, never far from her hand according to friends, is gone. Her keys sit neatly on the counter. The deadbolt is engaged from the inside. A window remains closed, dust undisturbed. One detective notes the stillness, the way nothing seems accidental. Another admits the scene feels rehearsed. Outside, neighbors gather beneath umbrellas. They offer shrugs and half-certainties. No screams, no arguments, no footsteps in the hallway. A woman across the courtyard recalls seeing Lena return home alone just before midnight, hood pulled tight against the rain. She remembers because Lena waved. Security footage should fill the gaps, but it doesn't. Cameras covering the entrance freeze at 12:17 a.m. They resume at 12:28. 11 minutes lost to darkness. Technicians insist the outage was not random. As evidence markers appear, the narration slows, heavy with implication. This was not chaos. This was control. Someone entered, stayed long enough to kill, and left behind almost nothing. In the silence of that apartment, detectives understand the most dangerous crimes are not loud. They are precise and they know exactly who they are meant for. To understand the crime, they must first understand Lena, her routines, her hopes, and the life she guarded closely. The morning after the crime, the documentary pulls back from the apartment and moves into memory. Home videos flicker across the screen, soft and imperfect. Lena Marrow is laughing in a kitchen, hair tied back, teasing whoever holds the camera. At 24, she is a graduate student with careful dreams, driven but gentle, ambitious without arrogance. Friends describe her as reliable, the one who planned birthdays, remembered deadlines, checked in late at night. Her routines become a quiet rhythm. Morning runs before sunrise, coffee at the same corner shop, long walks with earbuds in, recording voice notes instead of journaling. She organized her life in lists and calendars, color-coded and precise. Privacy mattered to her, not secrecy, just boundaries. She shared joy easily, worry less so. Then the story shifts, and Lena is allowed to speak for herself. A recovered audio memo plays, recorded weeks before her death. Her voice is calm, thoughtful, but strained beneath the surface. She says she feels watched sometimes, not followed exactly, just noticed. She laughs it off in the recording, calling herself dramatic, yet she never deleted the file. Her family remembers a change they couldn't explain at the time. Lena called more often, asked questions about housing, distance, timing. She mentioned an opportunity, something promising, but said she would explain later. She sounded excited, relieved, like someone counting down. Photographs appear on screen, and for the first time, another presence is acknowledged. A man stands beside Lena in several images, always slightly out of focus, his face blurred. No name is given. No context yet. Just proximity. As detectives listen and watch, a new detail reframes everything. Lena had submitted paperwork, requested records, and made plans. She was preparing to leave town within days, and she hadn't told everyone why yet. Plans to leave town give new weight to moments once dismissed as stress. Investigators trace Lena's final months, and the timeline begins to bend. Friends recall invitations declined at the last minute, excuses vague, tone apologetic. She stopped showing up to weekly dinners. She canceled a birthday she had planned herself. Each absence felt small, but together they formed a pattern of retreat. Digital forensics confirmed the shift. Passwords were changed repeatedly. Two-factor authentication added, then removed, then added again. Lena altered privacy settings across platforms, locking down accounts she once left open. Her phone records show she began taking longer routes home, paths that added time but avoided familiarity. CCTV from nearby streets captures her pausing, turning her head, checking reflections in dark windows as she walked. Text messages reveal something harder to explain. Lena apologizes constantly. Sorry for being tired. Sorry for not answering fast enough. Sorry for needing space. The replies are calm, reassuring, almost gentle. Still, the imbalance is impossible to ignore. One message reads, "I promise I'll do better," with no clear reason why. A neighbor adds another thread. During an early interview, she mentions hearing arguments through the wall late at night. A man's voice, controlled but sharp. A woman crying. Days later, she retracts the statement, says she might be mistaken, says walls are thin and memories unreliable. Slowly, the blurred figure from photographs gains a name. Evan, boyfriend of 8 months. Described by friends as attentive, thoughtful, protective in a way that seemed flattering at first. He walked Lena home. He checked in often. He worried. The narration tightens as detectives uncover a final detail. In Lena's search history, typed at 2:43 in the morning, is a single question that reframes everything. How to leave without being followed. Anyone. Investigators move deeper, following the question Lena typed into the dark hours of the night. What they find is a life she carefully folded away. In her email drafts, never sent, Lena wrote to friends she trusted, then stopped. The messages are fragments of fear. She describes feeling monitored, questioned, slowly erased. Each draft ends the same way, unsent, as if pressing send felt more dangerous than silence. Evan's history initially reassures detectives. Stable job. No criminal record. Friends describe him as polite, dependable, almost invisible. But digital analysts recover portions of deleted browser history. Searches repeat with quiet obsession. How to track an iPhone. Can location services be turned on remotely? How to tell if someone is lying about where they are. Framed as concern, but relentless in frequency. Then the investigation splinters. Attention shifts briefly to a former coworker Lena once reported for aggressive behavior. He had shown up unannounced at her job months earlier. A restraining order existed, now expired. Detectives question him, reconstruct timelines, follow receipts. Nothing places him near the apartment that night. Another lead surfaces. Phone records show repeated late-night calls to Lena from an unregistered prepaid number. The caller never leaves voicemails. Towers place the signal miles away. Analysts chase the trail, only to find the phone discarded weeks before the murder. Another dead end. The story returns to Lena's voice. A scheduled note plays, recorded the morning of her death. She describes her routine in detail. Shower, coffee, running shoes by the door. She sounds calm, deliberate, like someone preparing for change. She says today feels important, though she doesn't explain why. As detectives listen, a technician interrupts. During a secondary sweep of the apartment, hidden behind folded sweaters in a drawer, they find a second phone. Powered off. Waiting. Silently. With the second phone unlocked, investigators stop guessing and start measuring behavior. Analysts map Evan's presence in Lena's life, charting a slow psychological descent. In the beginning, messages are warm, attentive, affectionate. Then questions appear. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you answer? The concern sounds loving until it doesn't. Experts explain the pattern. Affection gives way to insecurity. Insecurity tightens into control. Evan suggests rides instead of walks, shared passwords instead of privacy, constant updates framed as care. Receipts recovered from his email reveal discrete purchases made online. Small GPS trackers, Bluetooth tags, items Evan later calls safety gifts, tools to protect someone he loved. Toxicology reports introduce another layer. Trace sedatives are found in Lena's system, below lethal levels, inconsistent with prescriptions on file. Detectives debate the implications. Could she have taken them willingly, trying to sleep, calm anxiety, manage fear? Or were they administered to slow her down, soften resistance, make compliance easier? No conclusion yet, only questions. Evan sits for interviews, posture relaxed, answers measured. He uses the same phrases repeatedly. He insists Lena was overwhelmed, unstable, confused. He positions himself as patient, steady, the one holding things together. When asked about the trackers, he smiles faintly and repeats that he worried about her safety. Behind the glass, detectives note the performance. No anger, no grief, only control of tone and timing. The psychological profile sharpens. What began as attachment became leverage. Then a technician brings in new footage. Time-stamped video from a nearby street camera shows a familiar figure walking toward Lena's building during the 11-minute blackout. The timestamp aligns perfectly. The figure matches Evan's height, build, and gait. For the first time, his calm cracks. The room senses momentum shifting, the investigation quietly turning toward confrontation and inevitable collapse. With Evan placed near the building, investigators reconstruct the final hours minute by minute. The second phone provides fragments Lena tried to hide. Text messages begin just after 10 p.m. Lena writes that she is leaving, that she needs space, that this is not a negotiation. Her tone is steady, resolved. Evan responds quickly. First disbelief, then reassurance. He promises change, patience, understanding. The messages accelerate. Evan's words shift from pleading to pressure. He reminds her of everything he has done for her. He asks where she will go. He asks who helped her decide. When she stops replying, his tone hardens. He writes that she is making a mistake, that she is confused, that she owes him a conversation. A partial voice note fills the silence. Lena's breathing is audible, uneven. She tells him to leave, says she feels unsafe. Evan's voice is faint in the background, calm but insistent. The recording cuts abruptly. What follows is described carefully, without spectacle. Detectives believe Evan restrained Lena from behind. No weapon, no blood, just pressure, panic, and minutes stretching too long. Suffocation leaves little trace. The apartment absorbs the sound. No neighbors hear anything. When it is over, the room returns to stillness. The deadbolt is turned from the inside. Evan wipes surfaces he touched. He takes Lena's phone. He leaves her where she fell. Outside, the rain erases footprints. The cameras remain dark. Evan's alibi seems solid. Receipts show him buying food across town shortly after midnight. A cashier remembers him. Surveillance confirms the transaction. He tells police he never went to Lena's apartment that night. Then a detective notices something small. The timestamp on the receipt is 1 minute later than the security footage at the store entrance. 1 minute unaccounted for. In a case built on silence and precision, that single missing minute refuses to stay quiet. The missing minute opens a door Evan cannot close again. Investigators return to his digital trail, this time looking not for what is there, but what has been rearranged. Text messages sent to Lena after her death appear timestamped earlier, giving the illusion of ongoing conversation. Analysts uncover delayed sends, queued drafts released automatically to create distance. Time itself has been edited. More cracks appear. A smart speaker inside Lena's apartment holds a fragment of audio never meant to be kept. Muffled voices. A sudden command to stop recording. A sharp inhale. Then nothing. The sound quality is poor, but the implication is clear. Someone knew the device was there and reacted too late. Evan's demeanor shifts under renewed questioning. Dark circles frame his eyes. He corrects himself mid-sentence. Refers to Lena in the present tense, then quickly changes it. He insists she was confused, overwhelmed, not thinking clearly. He repeats the word until it loses meaning. Confused, confused, confused. Detectives recognize the unraveling. His once controlled narrative phrase as details pile up. He contradicts earlier statements. He volunteers explanations no one asked for. When confronted with the manipulated messages, he shrugs, calls them misunderstandings. He says he was trying to protect her memory. Behind the scenes, search teams focus on water near Evan's known routes. Divers move slowly along a riverbank swollen from recent rain. Hours pass. Then a gloved hand lifts something dark and rectangular from the mud. The phone is water-damaged but intact enough to speak. Lena's missing phone, discarded where Evan thought it would disappear forever. Investigators exchange looks as it's bagged and sealed. Whatever is inside will not be kind. The lies have held long enough. Now the truth is ready to surface. Recovery of Lena's phone accelerates everything. In the interrogation room, cameras capture Evan as evidence tightens around him. At first, he sits upright, hands folded, voice steady. He answers calmly, correcting detectives, controlling the pace. But as data fills the screen behind the glass, the mask begins to slip. Search histories are read aloud. How long does suffocation take? Can fingerprints be wiped with water? How to delete GPS history permanently? Evan shakes his head, smiles thinly, says context matters. Then deleted drafts appear, messages never sent, rehearsed explanations written and rewritten. GPS pings trace his phone step by step, mapping a path that leads back to Lena's apartment and nowhere else. Hours pass. His posture changes. He leans forward, interrupts questions, raises his voice. He accuses Lena of instability, of manipulation, of pushing him too far. When confronted with the river recovery, his breathing quickens. His words tangle. Finally, something breaks. Evan admits he went to her apartment. Says he only wanted to talk. Says she panicked. Says it happened too fast. He stops himself mid-sentence, realizing what he has given away. Silence fills the room. No one moves. Detectives wait. The clock ticks. Evan stares at the table, jaw clenched, eyes glassy. He asks for water. He asks for a break. He asks if this can still be fixed. Outside the room, analysts review one last file delivered moments earlier. A forensic report, flagged urgent, contradicts Evan's version in a way that cannot be explained away. As the door opens again, investigators know the next question will end whatever control Evan still believes he has. What follows will reshape the case, expose intent beyond doubt, and force a reckoning that neither Evan nor the investigators are prepared to confront tonight when the results are finally read aloud. The forensic report lands with quiet force. Days before her death, Lena had already gone to police. Using the hidden phone, she documented messages, tracking devices, audio, and escalating threats. She met with a detective privately, fearful but determined, and handed over copies of everything. She was not planning escape alone. She was preparing exposure. The revelation reframes the case instantly. Evan did not arrive at the apartment driven by sudden emotion. He arrived knowing time had run out. Detectives now understand the late-night prepaid calls were not harassment, but coordination. The mysterious caller was law enforcement, guiding Lena through evidence collection, advising caution, arranging next steps. Another assumption collapses. Technical analysis confirms the security blackout was triggered earlier in the evening, hours before the confrontation. It was not a desperate act during the murder, but preparation. Someone tested the system, verified the gap, and waited. Control, not panic, defined the night. Evan is confronted with the truth. He listens as detectives explain that Lena was days from filing formal charges. His story of confusion dissolves. His silence stretches, heavier than denial. The motive sharpens into focus. This was not loss of control. This was prevention. The documentary voiceover slows, emphasizing the cost of what Lena tried to do. She trusted the process. She trusted that documentation could protect her. The audience realizes how close she came. As news breaks, public reaction shifts from shock to fury. Headlines change tone. Conversations widen. The case is no longer just about a single night, but months of manipulation hidden in plain sight. Court filings begin. Dates are set. Prosecutors prepare to argue intent. Evan's control has finally failed, but the consequences are only beginning to surface. Every detail will now be examined publicly, line by line, under unforgiving courtroom light alone. Months later, the courtroom replaces the interrogation room. Cameras line wooden benches as the trial unfolds, methodical and relentless. Prosecutors lay out timelines, receipts, recordings, and intent. Defense arguments thin quickly. The jury watches Evan without expression. When the verdict is read, guilty on all counts, there is no outburst. Only a long exhale, collective, restrained. Lena's family takes the stand during sentencing. Her mother speaks of mornings waiting for a call that will never come. Her brother describes anger learning to coexist with memory. They do not shout. They ask for accountability. The judge listens, unmoved by Evan's final statement. A careful performance that no longer convinces anyone. A life sentence is imposed. Control ends where consequences begin. Outside, the community reckons. Candlelight vigils give way to conversations about warning signs missed, charm mistaken for care, silence mistaken for peace. Universities update safety protocols. Police departments cite the case in training. Lena's name becomes shorthand for a truth many recognize too late. The documentary closes by returning to Lena herself. Her final voice note plays, recorded days before her death, steady and clear. She speaks about choosing herself, about not shrinking to make others comfortable, about leaving without apology. There is fear in her voice, but also resolve. She says freedom is not loud. It is deliberate. As the screen fades to black, her words linger, refusing to resolve neatly. Justice has been served in court, but the warning remains unfinished, echoing beyond the case, beyond the credits, asking viewers what control looks like before it becomes fatal. This story does not end with a verdict, but with responsibility, vigilance, and the courage to listen early, to document, to believe, and to intervene, before isolation hardens into danger and love is mistaken for permission by those closest to her.